Hello and welcome to another segment of Western Wisconsin Journal. I'm Jamie Johnson, and normally I have a legal and government segment that I host, but today, as we do a couple times every year, for those people that have been following us for years know that we like to interview nonprofit organizations, and we have some special guests today. So with me from the company Plantables is Jim Schreiber and Karen Klezek. Klezek. I knew okay. So I needed to put that I in there. So Karen Klezek and Jim Schreiber. And I'm just going to ask you first, start off with a little bit of your background, where you're originally from, and what brought you to Hudson. I know, Jim, you're a former teacher, and Karen, you're a current instructor, professor down at UW River Falls. But right. I'll start with Jim.
Yep. I'm originally from a small town in Chicago, south side of Chicago. It's called Homewood. And I graduated. I went to Whitewater University, and I became a special educator. And I've been a special education teacher for approximately 23 years. Most of that time here in Hudson, where I taught the life skills class at the high school. And that's where I taught students with developmental disabilities, primarily those with severe disabilities.
And what was your last year that you taught?
My last year that I taught was 2011.
2011.
Yep.
So it's been a few years.
Right.
And we're going to talk about what you've been doing since then. That's what this interview is about. But before we do that, Karen Klezek, Karen, we'll get what's your background?
So I'm on the faculty of the biology department at UW River Falls, and I've been there for 26 years. I also grew up in the Chicago area. We actually grew up in neighboring suburbs, but we didn't meet until college. That's a longer story.
Okay.
But I did my graduate work at UW-Madison, and then went off to Philadelphia to do some postdoctoral research. And then when I went looking for faculty positions, the UW River Falls position was very attractive. So I've been very happy there for 26 years.
All right. So 30 years married. Did I have that right?
In 2 weeks.
And coming up, and well, happy anniversary in advance. So we're here about the company Plantables, and this kind of combines the passions that have been center of each of your careers. And so, Jim, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you saw a need for those the students that you had been teaching?
Yeah, so it was an absolute privilege to be a teacher in our district. I could not wait to wake up every morning and be with my students and see the growth that they could achieve. And at the high school level, I really got to see a lot of achievements. A lot of my students, they had been through so many maybe surgeries and therapies, and by the time I got them, they were ready to learn, and I got them, and I got to see their growth, and it was amazing. Part of Plantables is, it's actually most of Plantables is everything that I learned as being a teacher with my students with developmental disabilities. So, yeah.
And you saw a need, though, for post-graduation opportunities in Wisconsin. Well, there's both federal and state statutes that require our school district to provide an education for students, children under the age of 18 of all abilities. But there is no law requiring that there be some type of employment. So tell us a little bit about what you saw from those graduating students.
Right. So I'll just put it this way. I saw how productive my students were. We had a vocational project where we made dog treats, and we literally made hundreds of dollars, actually thousands of dollars worth of dog treats, and we sold them to our faculty. When the Haiti earthquake happened, we wrote a check out for $500 to the Rotary for Shelter Box with all the dog treats. Yep, that we sold. And so I knew my guys could be productive, and I wondered why. I would graduate all of my students, and I would wonder why they weren't working. And I've graduated dozens of students, and none of them were working. And so there is no law that says, we have to employ people with disabilities. And we'll talk a little bit later about the statistics.
So you saw a need there, an ability to kind of unite your passion, and the area that you are a professor is?
I'm in biology.
All right.
And one of the projects I've been working on is research on honeybee health. So when we were thinking about products that we could make, we thought, well, why not make something that could actually benefit the environment and benefit pollinators? So
that's great. Well, and I think we've got statistics we're going to be showing about that decline in honeybees, something that's been in the news for almost 5 years, but a huge decline since 2011, about the time that you got out of teaching.
Right.
So let's talk about the Plantables. And by the way, for folks who want to learn more about Plantables, the website is plantables.net.
Right.
I suppose there's a www before that, but with Google now, all they have to do is do plantables.net, they'll find it. And and it's based right here in Hudson.
Right.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about what's the mission specifically, and I think we have a slide that we can show the audience.
Okay, sure. Our mission is to create a work environment that accommodates all abilities and promotes lifelong learning. So we use adaptive equipment for our some of our workers, and we make accommodations no matter their ability level. They are part of the process in making our product. The second mission is to involve community members as volunteers to develop positive interactions. One of the proudest things that we do is we actually incorporate River Falls University graduate students who are going to be speech pathologists, and they come and they are with us. But we also have other community members that come in, ex-educators. We have speech therapists, occupational therapists. My former principal is volunteering every Tuesday morning. So we have all the support from our ex-educators, plus we have parents that also come and volunteer. So our community members are incredibly critical. And then our third mission is to raise awareness about our pollinator decline and what individuals can do to help.
Okay.
Yep.
So kind of uniting the two passions that you each have. Now, I know that there's both statistics on this and some also individual stories, but let's focus first on those statistics. We have slides on that, so why don't you explain? We've got the one slide about the number of persons that are not counted in the workforce.
Right. So when I left the district, I knew it was bad, but I did not know it was that bad. So the number is 81% of people with disabilities are not even counted in the our labor force. And so that number is skewed a little bit because our elderly are included in that number. But we know, just being a part of this project the last 3 or 2 years, that it's pretty bad. And then the next slide is that there's that 12.5%. We have a 12.5% unemployment rate.
Which those are for the people who are still in the workforce,
right,
looking for work. That is more than double what the
So that 19% that is in the workforce, 12.5% are unemployed, which is much, much higher than the regular unemployment rate. So we really have probably an 85 to 87% unemployment rate if you have a disability in this country.
Right. So we know that there are people that are not in the workforce that don't have disabilities and how they're not counted. But as you mentioned before, you saw this both in your teaching and then now having started this company, the sense of purpose and accomplishment that these people get by having.
Right. And the one thing I just want to mention too is that the students that I taught who have severe disabilities, is that I feel extremely confident in saying that we have a 100% unemployment rate. Nobody's working except the folks that I know that are working at Plantables. So, we're really proud of that, but we also are kind of saddened by that because they just weren't given an opportunity.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good point. And now the other part of the mission, that is to focus on the bee population decline. So we have another slide here talking about that statistics, and this is kind of incredible. This is actually a 30% decline, but that's not just overall, that's annually.
Annually.
And it says since 2007, but has it kind of accelerated?
It seems to be getting worse each year. So part of that is overwintering loss. The bees aren't surviving through the winter. and they'll recover a little bit during the summer, but they're not fully recovering. So every year we're losing a lot of these really important insects that are responsible for pollinating about a third of our agricultural crops and for a lot of plants just in the ecosystem.
And I'm sorry I didn't get a copy of it, but I just saw a quote the other day from, I think it was Einstein, who had said that if we lost all of our honeybee population, human beings would cease to exist within about a generation.
I don't think that's an overstatement.
So why the decline? So we've got several factors in a slide showing that, but can you explain some of these?
Sure.
Some of them are self-explanatory, but just want you to touch on those.
Okay. So one of the main problems that they have is exposure to chemicals, pesticides that are very harmful. Some of them affect their nervous system, so they can't find their way back to their hives after they're out foraging for food. They're also subject to a lot of diseases, viruses, bacteria. They have parasites that suck their blood and weaken them. And they have trouble finding good nutritional food. So fields of corn or a single crop plant are not providing good nutrition. So they have to fly miles to find food, and they're weakened by all these other factors. And even changing weather patterns, they're not surviving the winters and not doing as well in the summer.
Okay. So the changing weather patterns definitely has had an impact.
Definitely.
So what can people do then when it comes to helping with that decline in the bee population?
Well, the good news is that it's easy to help, because the most important thing that people can do is plant flowers that provide good food for bees. So just small patches of bee-friendly flowers in yards or along roadways can make a really big difference, so they can stop along the way. And then if you're going to plant bee-friendly plants, it's really important not to have pesticides in them. And so it's really important to be responsible with those chemicals in your own yard. And when you buy plants, you can ask the stores whether they're using pesticides or buying plants with pesticides, and more stores are trying to eliminate them. So all of the experts, we have local experts. Marla Spivak at the University of Minnesota recommends planting bee-friendly flowers, and even the White House has just come out with recommendations that citizens should plant flowers. There's other things you can do. You can provide a little bit of water, just a little basin of fresh water, gives them something to drink, and support local beekeepers. So buy your honey locally, especially from beekeepers using these sustainable practices.
Okay. And purchase pesticide-free food overall, not
overall,
just
just avoid the use of pesticides in general.
Now, and so it's pesticides both in our yards, but also, the major farmers
Right.
have some of that in their production and can't be helped, but trying to minimize it is the point.
Using them responsibly, and there's a particular class of pesticides called neonicotinoids that are particularly troublesome, and many countries in Europe and other places have actually banned those.
So what would be common products that have neonicotinoids?
Neonicotinoids.
Okay.
And that's a good question. I can't think of any actual brand names offhand, but read the labels.
But for an example, instead of doing bug bombs, like where you spray your entire backyard, if you're going to have a gathering, it would be better to use topical repellents. For people don't like it because they smell or whatever, but you're doing a lot more lingering harm out there to the insects. And while you are trying to target maybe the nasty mosquitoes, you also harm the bees along with it.
Yeah, that's a really good point. A lot of the chemicals are not that specific.
Okay. Well, and then, so now let's getting back to how the business works, because this is where I've seen your presentation on a couple times to the Ecumenical Men's Group as well as to Rotary, and this is where hearts are really moved. So we have some slides that show that. Why don't you just describe, Jim, how the business operates?
Yeah, so I think if you just walked into Plantables, you would just say, this is just any other business. We are really proud to say that we have hired 14 folks of all abilities. That's how we like to put it. Plus, we also are proud of our army of volunteers that come in. We have 2 work shifts per day, 2-hour shifts each day, and what we do is we manufacture our products. We use assistive technology and adaptive equipment to do that. And it is something, it looks just like a normal workplace, because we might only have 3 people with disabilities, and there might be 8 people without. Those are some of the numbers that we have.
Are you all full when it comes to having volunteers, or could you use more?
Sometimes some days we're full, but we always figure out. That's being a teacher. I can always figure out how to make it work. So
Sure.
yeah.
But the days you're open, you mentioned having 2 shifts per day. We do Monday through Thursday. Is that
Monday through Thursday, but we're going to start being open on Fridays. Yep.
excellent?
So so we started our business with our one of my former students. I taught him for 9 years. His name was Nick. And like any good business, we started in our in my kitchen, and
Okay.
He came over and he loved making paper, and his mom came over and Karen was in there, and we just couldn't believe it, and we couldn't believe it because Nick hadn't been pretty much out of his house for 6 years. He developed a condition after he graduated when he was 21 called misophonia. So when he hears people clearing their throat and coughing, he gets very aggravated, and he can't keep a job in the community. So we knew we needed to make a special place for him. So he made paper, and we were just absolutely thrilled, and we're like, this is, I think, something that maybe this is something Nick can do. So our friend Nick there is, he works twice a week, 2-hour shifts, and we've had just the best time.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So he's just one of the workers of all abilities that you've had, and we've got pictures here showing the volunteers interacting with the workers. So you call it a model of normalization.
Right.
What do you mean by that?
And that's exactly what it says. It's just a you wouldn't know what it is. There just happens just to be a couple folks with disabilities at our work site. The thing that I did at school that I'm really proud of is that my caseload sometimes was only 5 or 6 students. But my last year that I taught, I had 35 helper kids come into my classroom. We did it. It's called reverse mainstreaming, and it is powerful. We need the help. We certainly need the help to produce all the products that we are needing. But they also, my volunteers are getting something out of it too. And so it's one of your pat my back and I'm going to pat your back kind of a deal.
Well, I want to talk about the products, but before we do, also mention how you partner with local business and other nonprofits.
You want to?
Sure. So we have a standard line of cards and other paper products, but we make custom products. So we've made cards for events, for businesses, the library, the high school, other nonprofits. And we also have had companies send representatives to do volunteer work, so activities for the employees.
Excellent. So the next slide we have shows some of those products, and we start with the greeting cards. And I think that these are both ingenious and cute. Tell us about the process, because we've got examples here of these cards, and they say things like "thanks for being," and using the honeybee. So you kind of have you trademarked that, by the way, the logo?
We did.
It's copyrighted.
Copyrighted,
Yeah.
all right. And it says congrats on your new baby. So you've got other ones that say don't worry, be happy. You were meant to be together. So there's something special about these cards, in addition to having the cute logo and the use of the bee.
Right. Right. So the thing is that when we created this product, I'm pretty good at 2 things. I'm pretty good. I can spin a basketball on my finger for about 10 minutes straight. And the other thing I can do is I can figure out how to make people with all abilities productive. And so Karen came home one day with a Plantable greeting card. I think she went to Grand Avenue in St. Paul. And I'm like, I wonder how they make those. So we looked up the process, and we found out, yeah, that is something that no matter your ability level, that's something that we can make. So I have a really good example is we make a paper pulp, and what we use is recyclable paper from River Falls University in the biology department. We have a good source, and And so I have one of my former students, he has cerebral palsy, and the only thing that he can voluntarily move is his elbow. And we attached a switch to his wheelchair, and with assistive technology, he hits that switch and it activates a blender. And we have another, one of our volunteers or another worker, and we put in some of the paper, recyclable paper, some water, and this pulp is made. And we pour it into this box, and then we embed seeds in it. And that's the magic of Plantables, is that everything we make you can plant. So when you get done with your card, your greeting card, you just don't throw it in the recycle or put it in your memory box. You can actually make a difference for our pollinators.
And so there are seeds that actually work.
Right. So this is an example of that.
Okay.
This is an example. If you plant a card, this is what comes out.
So this came from an actual card.
Right. So.
And likewise, this one.
That's from the bee bombs,
That's
which we'll talk about in a minute.
Okay. This is from the plantable card, though, and again, with the cards, you actually do need to plant them, put them in the dirt, and then water them. And
so there's directions on the card. It says exactly what to do. It's kind of like a chia pet. I'll just put it that way.
Okay. And now we have this test garden slide, and it's just showing some beautiful flowers.
So that was last year. We've gotten better at making paper. So we had a lot of bad paper. So that was actually my garden, and this is the result of it. It was the most beautiful garden I've ever had, and it was just some bad paper that I just put in.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it came up that thick.
Right.
So you can tear them into pieces or put the whole card in if you want.
Yep.
Either way.
Right.
All right. So.
And in the end, this is the full circle, is that you end up getting, this is what came to my garden. Those are pictures that came to my garden.
So on the pollinators, the next slide that shows bees and butterflies, those are pictures you took in the garden from the products that you planted.
Thousands of bees and hundreds of butterflies just came to that little garden. They were looking for food, and that's what they found. Plus, we had hummingbirds come, and we had lots of goldfinches eating the zinnia seeds. So, yep, that happened. It really happened. And to know that my company, our little business, started that and provided food for them was just a delight. Yes.
And now we also have a product. Now this came second after the greeting cards was bee bombs. Tell me about the bee bombs, because these are a little different. Instead of a paper mix.
Right. So instead of paper, we have a ball of clay and compost and seed, and these seeds are wildflower seeds. And this is sort of an ancient way of planting seeds. You put them in the clay, which protects them from insects and birds, and then you can just toss this. You don't actually have to bury them. You just place it or toss it in your garden or just in a field, any place that you want to grow wildflowers. And again, these are all plants that would be beneficial to bees. So we have a couple growing in this pot, black-eyed Susan, some clover, some flax, I think. And these are all, when they bloom, they'll provide good food for bees. And these will naturalize and sort of fill in a wild area.
Are there places that these shouldn't be put?
I can't think of a place that, they might spread a little bit. But
they can go almost anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, the places where they'll do better. So the clay just breaks down over time with water and wind. So there might be some places where they won't break down so quickly.
Maybe don't put them under the window of somebody who's allergic to bees or something like that.
Well, that's a possibility.
Yeah, but other than that, like my wife has this whole 10-foot by 10-foot area of just weeds. She wants to weed it. It's going to be bare. And she was thinking, we bought one of these boxes. So they come in boxes of 4 and 10, and this is $5, and the box of 10 is $10. And you can just throw these out, and they could be placed fairly close together, or you could spread them out.
Yeah, the seeds will spread. The water will move them around, and it might take a while for some of them to germinate and bloom. It's sort of a long-term investment in an area to create a space for bees, and native pollinators will also benefit from this too.
All right, and then there's custom products, and so tell us a little bit about the custom products. I think you did a little bit
Yeah,
before.
I mentioned that earlier, mostly for local businesses, nonprofits. We make bookmarks, we make little thank you cards, we made some Christmas cards. So any kind of event. These are also fun to have at an event. They make good wedding favors. We can package them up in different ways. So we're very open to whatever clients might.
Now, have you gotten some custom orders and from faraway places?
Well, we actually just got, well, we're actually in the midst of this unbelievable fundraiser. It's with this organization called Random Acts. And we have got inquiries from all over the world. It's a worldwide organization. But we have just sent dozens of packages all around the country, hundreds of packages. And that was an organization founded by an actor that is on a TV show. So he tweeted out to his 2 million Twitter followers, go to the Plantable website, and we're doing a fundraiser for my organization. So last week I got an email from somebody from Japan and Denmark and Germany. Yeah,
That's great.
Yeah,
that gives me chills.
Yeah.
That's good. Good to hear. So there are ways that people, besides buying the product, and they can go on the website to order it, correct?
Yeah. And it's also available in the Purple Tree in downtown Hudson.
So another will support your local shops, all right? And again, part of being a community partner, all right? So, and you guys are also on Facebook and Twitter?
Yep.
And in addition to buying the products, and maybe for their organizations if they want to raise money or whatever, folks can also volunteer, and they just need to contact you if they're interested?
Yep, so if they're interested, go to plantables.net, and so my contact information is there, and we have, we'll find a way to get you involved. Yep.
Has spreading the word for Plantables and making more people aware of your company, has that brought more employees to you, people who could use the employment?
Oh, yes.
Is that one of the reasons you're expanding to the 5th day of the week?
Yes, and we're taking on another project that is we'll talk about it maybe another show, but yeah, we have lots to make, and thus we need more workers, and which is really exciting for me. This is a real personal venture because most of these guys were my students, and I'm also getting to know some people that weren't my students and knowing that they just needed an opportunity. We hired somebody about 2 months ago, and she's 38 years old, and she's never had a job.
Wow.
And she's one of our by far best workers, and every box she pretty much puts the bombs. She loves packaging.
Okay.
And she loves to do it. Our guys just need an opportunity, and that's what we're just able to provide. We're so lucky to be able to do this. We're just honored to be able to do this, and I thought I could not have a better role in life than to be a teacher. This is teacher on steroids. This is unbelievable. So yeah.
Well, it's great that you really found your purpose in life, and being able to use your areas of expertise, and yours, of course, teaching, and then with the bees and the biology, and making something that is actually good for the environment, good for the community, and overall. Is there anything else that you wanted to? I want to give you a fair opportunity to touch upon, because I know that we've got a lot of viewers out there that do watch. They like the variety, and to be able to have a unique product like this that's made right here in Hudson is awesome.
Well, the only thing I can just say is thank you for having us. We have been supported by this community in so many ways. As an educator, I think we've talked before, is that at the high school we have 15 special ed programs just at the high school. We do an amazing job of taking care of our children. So this is not an accident that this happened in Hudson. This was meant to happen in Hudson, and so we know we have a really unique business. And we hope that we can really inspire others to maybe take this leap and to do something very similar to this. So.
Well, thank you again. Thanks for coming on the show and telling us more. And I'll encourage the viewers, go to plantables.net and get some bee bombs and some greeting cards. Everyone needs thank you cards and congratulation cards, so you got a great variety there. Go check it out and plant some of your own environmental friendly and helpful plants. With that, we will ask you to join us again in the future for Western Wisconsin Journal.